Okay, in today's video we are going to be continuing where we left off. Blender extensions, add-ons to get started for beginners, things that you'll need for 3D modeling, specifically for 3D printing, and then we're going to go over how to set up this workspace to make things more efficient for you. First thing we're going to do is always, Blender starts you with this stuff. We're going to select it all, we're going to hit delete, and we're going to start with a blank canvas. So under preferences, we had already gone through extensions and picked these here. You can see that in our previous video. Now we're going to go through turning them on. I'm going to start with screencast keys. So check the box here. It's automatically going to pop up. It's going to be, it's going to automatically be implemented into your scene. As we discussed before, you can hit the down arrow here, and on all of these extensions and add-ons, you could click this and it'll open the documentation about it. Each page will be different depending on how the creator of it set it up, and you can read some things about it. So if there's some things that we don't get into, or if you want to learn more about it, each add-on, you can do it that way. We'll close that. Screencast keys, I'm going to enable on startup, and what it is okay, it puts it down here in the corner. I'm going to turn this up so that you can see them better, and probably put this about 50, somewhere in there. Okay, so any button that's pushed, you'll be able to see it. That's screencast keys. What I don't like it to be here because it clutters the screen. I turn off sidebar. I do put it in my overlay screen, which is this one. So I can turn it on and off here. But I'm going to set it to enable on startup. You don't need to do that unless you're going to be streaming very often or recording videos to upload somewhere for someone to watch, and you want to make sure that you have it on. A lot of times what will happen is if you have it set where you turn it on every time, you'll forget. And you'll be halfway through a video and you'll realize you don't have screencast keys on. Okay, back up to the top. So 3D Print Toolbox. There's no settings here for us. If you noticed, it showed up over here. Hold on, let me go back here and turn this back up for you guys. Something like that. Okay. So let's minimize that. Let's add an object. So right now our object is 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. 3D print will give us a volume, 8 cubic meters. It'll also give you the surface area, 24 square meters. If that's not important to you now, it may be important to you eventually. I like to do fishing lures, and the volume of the fishing lure is important because that helps us determine how much weight it needs in order to float or sink in the water. Solid will check the geometry. If it has any holes in it anywhere, it'll be non-manifold, and we should be able to delete that face. If you exported this and try to 3D print it, it wouldn't like it. It's non-manifold, meaning it's not a solid object. It needs to be watertight. Okay. You can set your overhang, whatever you have your overhang set to on your printer. I like to just leave it at 45 because almost all FDM printers can print at 45 degrees, no problem. But it would highlight any one that's a problem, and if you wanted to try to move it so that it'd be better print, easier print, you could do that. Let's close that. You could clean it up. If your object is non-manifold, like that, and it gives us, there's our non-manifold edge, it highlights it so that you can fix it. If we hit make manifold, it fixed it. It doesn't always work that great, sometimes it does. You can try it, and then if it screwed things up, you can hit undo. But let's make it manifold. If you wanted the inside of this to be hollow, I'm going to set that so we can see inside. If you needed a cavity inside, because if you print this in resin, it's going to print solid resin. If you print this in an FDM printer, a printer that uses filament, it's going to print the walls, and then it's going to print infill on the inside. But let's say that you needed a hollow cavity inside of here. You could hit hollow, turn your voxel size up, oh, I'm sorry, down, and then that could be scary. Let's set that a little bigger. Increment, determine what size you want your hollow cavity to be, and then hit OK. So now we have this hollow cavity that we created in there. If you, oops, let's delete that. You could duplicate this object and scale it down, and it would do kind of the same thing. However, if you had something along the lines of a sphere, actually, you know what? Let's just go back with the cube, and let's create 2 edge loops right here. And let's shrink that down. So now we have this bow tie shape. If we duplicated that and we shrunk it down, what you'll see happens is it doesn't create a shell. It's further away from this edge than it is from this edge. It's further away from this edge than it is from this edge. That side looks pretty normal, but let's delete that. Let's hit hollow. Let's make it a little bigger. So now you'll see it's a little more of a shell than it was before. It's equal here, it's equal here, it's equal here, because we had set it all to being 1/10 of a meter. Now, if you turn this up, this is the resolution basically of your internal object. The smaller this number is, the more, basically kind of like pixels, but also the smaller you go, the more taxing it's going to be on your computer. I'm operating on a dinosaur, so it can take some time. If this takes too long, I'll just cut it out. Okay, I walked away for a minute, and when I came back, Blender had crashed. What happened is I turned the voxel size down too far, and on my computer it does not like that, so sometimes that happens, especially when you're using an antique for a computer like I am. Let's see, let's continue where we left off. I'll have to add some of this back together for you guys real quick. I'll make it fast. Let's take down 20. 50. Okay, we'll start up. Okay. All right, my apologies. Let's go back to where we were. Shrink that down. And we were adding hollow. 0.1. Let's make that voxel size 0.1 again. We can do probably 0.05. Okay. And that worked fine. So as I was saying, when you change that voxel size, it's like a resolution. The smaller the number, the more exact your hollow object will be. But if you get if you get 0.01 from me or smaller, my computer doesn't like it. So if you're someone who uses the slider, just be careful because it'll go down here real fast, and if you hit OK, my computer will explode. So we have that. Also, if volume is an important thing to you, you can hit this and it'll scale it up to exact volume. If I'm at 3.8, I want to go to 6 instead of, at times I would scale it, check the volume, scale a little bit more, check the volume. In lieu of that, you can just hit 6 or 8 or whatever you want the volume to be, and it does it perfect. And then when you're ready, export. Find you a place where you want to save. I usually put my stuff here in lures because I make lures. Format, just leave it as STL unless you know that you're going to use these other ones. Hit export. Documents. And it has taken it to there. Let's open that. Documents. There it is. You can take that, and I have it auto set to Cura, but whatever your slicer is, you can open that STL in there. Delete. Okay. Next. Auto mirror. Oh. Biscuits. Okay. Auto mirror, I've left this part out. You can change the tab it's going to be on. By default, it goes to edit, and it will be here on the edit tab. A few other add-ons will also default to the edit tab, so you could have a list of things here. If you prefer to have it on a different tab, you just type that here. Or if you want to make its own auto mirror tab, you could do that. You could just say no. If you wanted to make it auto mirror, you could do that. Now it'll have its own tab here, but I'm going to leave it at edit because that's where I like it. Okay, so what it does, if we were wanting to make this object symmetrical along the Y, or along the X, and flip it along the Y axis, as we're creating it, we'd have to, okay, we're gonna move that way, you're gonna, okay, well, how do I make it exactly the same? You're gonna have to check a couple of different views. I didn't do too bad, that's pretty close, but it's not perfect. But if I move it this way, so auto mirror. You pick your axis that you want to flip it along. If I hit Y and then I hit auto mirror. Oh, nope. I should have done it along X. Okay, auto mirror. What it does is it deletes these vertices for you, and then it makes a symmetrical reaction over on this side, like that. You can do this through the modifiers and going down to generate, and then go into mirror. But you would have to go and delete the vertices yourself, the extra vertexes yourself, and hit a couple of buttons here, and then you'd have to apply it, where auto mirror saves you 4 or 5 steps. So no matter what you do, you could shrink it, you can move it. If you delete one, it deletes it on the other side as well. So if you need to make symmetrical models, this is a lifesaver. We'll leave auto mirror there. We'll go to preferences, bool tool. Oops. No, too many buttons. Okay, so bool tool defaults to edit bar as well. And the rest of this, you can just leave it as is, unless you want to play around with it. So we're going to leave that there. Okay. You can only use the bool, whether it's boolean through the modifier here or through here. You can only do it whenever you're in the, what do they call that, object mode? And this is edit mode. Something like, yeah. Oh yes, up here, object mode. Oh man, I forget. Sorry guys, it crashed. I forgot to change. Let's pump this up a little bit. Okay. If you don't know what boolean is, it's taking 2 objects and it's interacting together, whether that's adding, subtracting. So let's take a cylinder and let's make it 4 meters deep, and let's rotate it along the Y, and let's scale it down. Okay. That'll be interesting because it's sticking out on all kinds of sides here. So if you want a difference, which is basically subtracting, you select the object that is the modifier and then the object that is being modified second, like that. Hit brush boolean difference, and that's cool, huh? And if that was not exactly what you wanted, and you wanted to maybe move this guy over so that your print is closed on one side, and then have that. Now, I like to use brush first, because if I go to auto, it's going to just immediately make it permanent. Okay, so I have no other objects here. I don't have the ability to move it around. Whereas if auto is like automatic, it implements it, everything. Brush puts it basically in preview mode so that you can edit it. And then whenever you have it, way you want, if that's the way you like it, or if you want to move it, maybe we want to put it here. Well, then you can hit apply, or you can remove it. If you don't like it, you hit remove and it goes away. You hit apply. Now it did it. Now you'll be like, what the heck? Why did it do it on the other side? Well, it's because we have the auto mirror still on. If we turned auto mirror off, it does that to us. So I'm gonna hit apply. Go back a couple of steps. Okay. If you wanted to add this, let's say that you wanted, you wanted a cylinder sticking out the side, you hit union, hit the modifier, and then the one that's being modified second, and then hit union. Now they are together. You will see how this portion of the cylinder is inside of there. Once you create a union, it removes that interior piece because you're not going to need it. Now all the inside is solid, one single solid, which is what you'll need for 3D printing. Let's apply. You can go through and play with intersect, play with slice, see what they do. Intersect should be where the two pieces come together. Slice, I've never used it. Ah, okay. So that's that. I had said in the last video that I really think that Booltron is going to be the one I use over Booltool. I'm not going to go into it now because I'm not 100% confident and comfortable with all of it, but it's similar tools used in a little bit different manner. I think it has the ability to be better. I'm not 100% yet. Okay, extra mesh objects. If we go, you'll see these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then these two. Extra mesh objects is exactly what it sounds like. You got these 8, you got these 2, and then you got all this extra stuff. The cool one is gears. If you are someone who wants to 3D print gears, there's a lot of options here. I'm not going to go into all that. If you know about gears, you'll know some of this stuff already. If you don't know about gears and you want to make gears, this is a cool thing to learn about. Anyway, leave the extra mesh objects on. It does not have any other settings either. Over here on the right, you'll see the ones that have a Blender logo. Those are the ones that are included by default with this version of Blender, 4.2.4 LTS. And the ones that have the two people, these are ones that, that we've added. Incremental autosave. If I had this on already, it would have helped me earlier whenever it crashed. So what it does is you find where you want to create a file. I saved mine in Lures because that's where I normally work. So you'll see this is a file I was working on. Well, I worked on it some today, but I was working on it yesterday. And whenever it auto-saves, it creates a new file instead of just overwriting the previous one. So if you get 30 minutes, an hour into it, and you realize, oh, crud, I need to go back a couple of steps, but I can't. You could go check out some of these, see where they're at in the progress. You can set the save interval and how many times. So it may save every 5 minutes, but it's not going to save 1,000 files. It'll save 10 and then it'll start overwriting the oldest one. And what's our next one? Loop tools. Loop tools shouldn't have too many options, but it's on the edit tab, which is where we want it, where I want it. So let's add. Let's go with a circle. You're not going to see it here until we go into edit. Now here's loop tools. See, we've changed Boolean, which only works in object. We've traded it for loop tools, which only works in edit mode. So let's take these and let's move this up. Let's move it over a little bit one way. So our loop tools, bridge, circle, curve, flatten, da 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 da. So select this. I'm going to hit bridge. It connects those surfaces. Now you'll notice that if there was a face there, it would have removed it. Let's do this. Let's make that a face. Let's make that a face. Bridge. So it removed the faces. If we didn't want to remove the faces, we could check that. Segments is how many pieces you want inside of here, so we can crank that up a little bit. These are called edge loops. These lines. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 additional edge loops that we've added, creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sections. You can change this. You'll see that it's got a little bit of a curve to it. Maybe that's perspective. So you can twist it. And it's basically, it's moving from these two are connected. It's going to move it over one. So now this one is connected to that guy instead of one directly above it. And let's subdivide. Maybe I can't subdivide that face. Oops. Let's give us cube. And let's pump the cuts up. Something like that, just to give us some stuff to work with here. So the second one here is circle. You can pick one, vertex, hit circle, boom. It takes those surrounding ones and makes it a circle. If you went here, you want to take those and make them a circle. Oops. You can do that. It's a handy dandy tool when you need it. All these things they're not something you're going to use every day or every time you open Blender, but it's one more tool in your toolbox, right? If you wanted to make a circle coming through this, you want to have cutout down there for whatever reason. That's what circle does for you. I don't really use curve. I don't really use flatten. Loft is similar to bridge. These other ones, you can play with them. And see what they do. Let's go to our next tool. Next add-on, sorry. Measure it. Gotta have it. It shouldn't have too many settings either. Nope. Measure it is in the view tab, and sometimes I wish I could give it its own tab, but I don't know how to do that. So let's say that you wanted to measure from there to there. Now we know that on the cube it's 2 meters on each side. But if we had an oddball shape, I don't know. Let's just make it weird. Okay? Sometimes you gotta make things weird. We don't know what side is what now. This is our overall bounding box dimensions. But if we wanted to know from here to here, what is that? We go to view. Go to measure it tools. Minimize this box. And this box. Okay. Segment. Show. Okay. So now we know that that's 2 meters. And I'm going to make a second one that goes from here. Maybe I need to know this angle. Just hit segment again. There I have it. Now, you could, if you did something like this and you hit segment, now you got all these guys popped up. The only way to delete them is to go down here. And they're in order from oldest to most recent. Close those. I had to step away for a second. Close, 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 close. Okay, we'll leave those. If pick here and here and here, you can hit angle. That angle is 108.92. The important thing to remember is that the second angle is the second one you pick is the angle vertex, so whichever one is in the middle. And if you wanted to know this angle here, but you picked this one, and then that guy, it would give you based off of here, which is 35 degrees. What else could you want to know off of this? It can give you the area of a face. It can give you the area of multiple faces. This is just such a handy tool. I can't tell you how useful this is. You may not think you need it, but you're going to need it, especially if you're going to print functional prints. Things that you need around the house, like if you lost a bracket, like just the other day, we got a coffee table, one of those like IKEA flat pack boxes where it's 87 pieces and you got to put it together like Legos, and the dog ate 2 pieces of it. Thankfully they were on the bottom where nobody would see them. Took some measurements, came in the blender, recreated it, printed it, good as new, no big deal. And moving right along, we're at the end of it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to get into is creating a workspace that is more productive for you. There's a lot of things in here. There's a lot of buttons in here. We'll go through some of them that you want to change just so that you have them, and how to move some of this stuff around so that it makes more sense to you. Click on the video right here and that will get you to that. I'll see you guys on the next one.